Hello everyone, hello programmers and friends and whoever else is watching this. Sorry it's been a while since I made another video, or made my last tutorial video. I've just been kind of busy and just been working on extra stuff, but not only that, I'm not really popular with these videos right now at the moment. Maybe sooner or later I'll be popular later, or whatever, if not. But thanks to demand, I'm creating this video right now. Another thing I kind of realized was in my other videos, I'm not really speaking clearly enough. Well, clear enough for me. So, uh, in this one, I'm gonna try to work with the sound a bit. Hopefully, my voice will stand out a little bit more, and I'll try to speak more clearly. I don't speak properly all the time, but try to speak more clearly. All right, today, I think I'm just gonna go over types because types is a big thing, and that'll take a lot of time just to get over. Okay, so anyway, what types is here's if you want to make multiple of a similar like object or enemy, it would define a type. So let's just say we're going to define the enemy type, so we define it like that. So if you want to spawn a number of enemies, you want to make it a type. That way they all have their individual X coordinates, Y coordinates, HP, whatnot. That's not going to make sense right now, but as we work with it, you'll see what's going on. So like X and Y. Now, I'm not too sure how in detailed I went with variables in my last videos, but let's just do a little review. If we have a speed variable and equals 10, that speed variable will always equal 10 unless you say I want to equal 11 and put like 11 somewhere here, so like speed equals 11. So now the speed will equal 11 because you declared it within the loop, or even outside the loop. Even if I put it outside the loop, then the later one, depending on positioning, first it'll equal 10, then it'll equal 11. Right after it checks that. So the computer's going to read and be like, okay, speed equals 10, and then you change it to 11. So that's how it works. And you can't make a speed equal 10 and 11. Variables can only equal one thing. Now, what makes a type different is you can make 100 x's, or a million x's, or infinity x's, and infinity y's. And kind of like attach it to each enemy. So each enemy has their own position on the screen. They all aren't going to be in the same area. So that's what the field types do. So you want to define it as type, and then name it, and then you want to set the fields. You want to end the type by saying end type. I don't believe this is called a loop, but you still need to say when the type ends, and the reason why is because you have other types going on usually. Usually one type's not enough, so maybe like this is items. Alright, so, and since we're not doing anything with it right now, they're basically pointless. They're just kind of sitting there, but types right here. Types are really difficult to get used to. They have a lot of rules to them, and working with types will cause a lot of errors. If you get errors, it's completely normal. Make sure you got your debug enabled. Alright, and what the debug enable does is it basically, if you have a mistake in the code, it'll try to find out what it is and it'll tell you what's going on. Alright, now let's use these types. Alright, so we got the type enemy. So what you gotta do is you gotta have, depending on what you want the enemy to do, you probably will want to have an image to represent the enemy. Excuse me. If let's just put image. If the enemies have different looks to them, then yeah, you'll want that. You'll want several image looks. And what I'm talking about is, if you only have one image posted to that one type, then all of these enemies, are going to look exactly the same. They're all going to look like that single enemy. So, let's see. I'm going to go just look one up real quick, because I know I have one. I don't want a 3D one. I'll just take this one. Now what you want to do, we're going to do a little bit of review. You want to make an image, use it, do it in Paint, Photoshop, doesn't really matter. And you want to put it in the same directory, which mine is YouTube right here, as your program. And it's actually already open. And paste that picture inside. So this is what my enemy looks like. It's a nice simple one. He doesn't have a background, so I'm not going to mask anything in the background, or else I'm going to get rid of this like outer layer right here that I actually want. you don't have a background, you don't have to worry about masking anything. Actually, come to think of it, I may want to, because the default masking for Blitz is black, so this is see-through. So if I post him and there's something behind him, you'll see right through his teeth and his eyebrow. But that's fine for right now because there's nothing but a black background anyways. Okay, so load that image, that enemy image. You load it just like a normal one, even though it's going to be used for types. You can also use it for anything. It doesn't only have to be used for one thing. You can use it for like title screen. Which reminds me, I should probably go over title screens today too. Well, anyway, enemy equals load image, and I believe I called it just enemy 1, and that's a bitmap. Now with the space. Okay, make sure it's perfect. Even if there's a space, you need to put a space. It has to be perfect to the actual name of the image. There you go. You know what? I'm gonna mask it anyways, just so his teeth aren't see-through. Alright, mask image. And if you don't have a background, which he doesn't, as you can see, you want to mask a color that's not a part of him. So it's going to be gray. That way it doesn't have any see-through stuff. So I'm going to use gray, since I know he doesn't have any gray in it. So that's 120, 120, 120. So I don't remember the order. I think it's red, blue, green, something like that. I usually just go and paint, just copy the numbers. So whatever's easier for you. You can remember them, or you just make up numbers. Okay. Okay, now let's link that to a type. So in order to declare types, we want to do this. Let's put it. We'll put before the enemy. That way the enemy can be on top of him. Okay, so when it draws pictures or anything, it's going to draw this first, which is the text. Then it's going to draw that, which is other text. Then it's going to draw the player. So if the player was to go on top of the text, so if I execute it, since it's drawing the player second, I'll be right on top of it. If I put the text after drawing the player, then the text will be on top of him. So if I had to put this underneath him, which I can do right now, if I was to go and collide with this text, the text would be on top of my player. Depending on the order, we'll decide what goes on top of each other. See, I'll go behind. Oh man, come on, this is way fast. Well, anyway, see, I'm on top of the X, but I can't go on top of the Y because that's drawn afterwards. So, alright, let's change that. Let's make it like slow. I'm gonna make it 2. Alright, one thing that I tell my club members, because I teach a club, is when I'm making variables, try to think up your own variable names. That way you kind of get the feel for variables, because variables can be called whatever they want, or whatever you want them to. White just means it's defined by you. There's no specific names that do magic stuff or anything. If it's white, it just has no meaning. If it's blue, it's a command or function. If it's gold, it's a comment. Green is usually some type of text. And this is actually, believe it or not, that's a different tint than this. This is kind of like a lighter blue, our numbers. Kind of hard to tell, but yeah. I don't know why they did that for this one, because for Blitz Basic and Blitz Plus, all the colors are different, and you can tell the difference. Okay, well anyway, I'm wasting a lot of time on just talking. Right, so let's go declare this type, and like I said, let's do it before the player. So the player is going to be on top of the enemy if he goes on top of him. And to do it, and this is a lot, all at one time, but just bear with me. Now you want to make up another name. Doesn't matter what this is. I'm going to call it E1 dot, then the name of the type equals each enemy. Alright, I'm going to put on top what this means. This is the 4, and then some variable type name. You want to give it some variable name dot, and then you want to state the type you're going to link this variable name to. So my variable name is E1. You're going to link it to the type. So this is state type. I'll just put type because that's kind of confusing. But anyway, you're going to link this variable name to the enemy type. And since I define enemy as a type, which is right here, anytime I bring up E1 in my program, it's going to refer to the enemy type. And then each, which is, each would be like every single one of the type, every type of the same name. And then you want to restate the type name. Alright, I'm going to try to go in depth as much as I can with this and explain it the best I can. It's kind of difficult to explain. It's more of understanding what it does than seeing it. Okay, but anyway, basically, for the variable name you link to the type equals each of them, so that means each enemy type in the game is going to go by the set of instructions that's inside this loop. A for is a for next loop, that's what's known as. So you want to end that loop the next. That's the way to end this loop. Each loop has its own ending. The while has the W end, the if has the end if, and let me put that, and for loop. If you don't put that, you're going to get an error. Alright, so basically anything inside here is going to be the enemy instructions. It also means that every single enemy type is going to follow whatever's inside here. So you can tell it to do whatever you want it to. So one thing we want it to do is draw it. So let's draw the enemy. By the way, if you have any more questions on this for stuff, just post a comment and try to answer it in another video, go over it a little bit more. But this is the best way you can actually explain it, because even books I've read, they don't really even explain it. They just state it and just say this is the way it's done. But see, you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. Basically, we're not going to state the name enemy anymore as a variable. This is actually going to be the way to declare that you're using the enemy type, because you do it like this: E1 / image E1 / X E1 / Y. Okay, so basically, like I said, you link this to the enemy type. So each time you declare this, you're talking about the enemy type using the fields that we posted on top. So basically, each time an enemy is created, you want to draw a specific picture. You want to keep track of its X and Y. Okay, so if we run it, nothing's going to happen because this equals 0. We didn't state what this means, or this, or this. So basically everything equals 0. In order to position an enemy or actually create an enemy, you have to use a different chunk of code. You gotta do this one, and it's similar to the for. Another big thing: e.enemy equals new enemy. Now it's basically similar than the for each next loop. Basically, what you're doing is you're putting the type variable right here, variable right there, and you're gonna make it equal a new one. So basically, you're putting a new type into the game, and this isn't a loop. The computer only reads it once when it loops it, and it reminds me we're going to put an if. Anyway, now under here, and this is the only way you can do it, when you create a new one, you can then state everything you want the enemy to equal. Well, actually, that sounds really bad, but you'll see. Alright, basically, since, like I said, this all equals 0, and since none of the enemy types are even created, this is just there. It's just a set of instructions. It doesn't do anything. It basically just tells enemies what to do. This is the way to create the enemy and put it into the game. Now, we need to link the enemy image variable to some type of image. And the image I used was, I believe, was it enemy or enemy 1? Okay, so there it is. It's just enemy. I'm going to change the name to that because that's going to be really confusing. I'm going to put enemy pick equals load image enemy 1 bitmap. Alright, enemy picture. Alright, so by pointing that, it basically means that this enemy's image is going to equal this enemy picture. E1 slash X, you can plot them anywhere you want, maybe 200. E1 slash Y, you can plot that anywhere. It's equal another 200. And there you go. Now, since this is inside the main loop, right here, main loop, each time it loops, it's going to continue to create another enemy and another enemy. And since loops loop like probably 100,000 times a second, I don't know the exact number, it's going to create a ton of enemies. So we only want to create one so it doesn't slow down our program. So if create enemy, this is just a variable I'm creating, you can call it whatever you want, equals 0, then you want to create this whole thing, and if, and then create enemy equals 1. So while this equals 0, it's going to create one since it already equals 0, since I never stated it before. It's going to create this one single enemy, then it's going to not ever do it again because, or do this loop again because equals 1 now. Alright, so if we run it, we should have enemy up here. Or we get an error, but it looks, no, yeah, I got an error. Oh, that's why. I forgot to change this. See, errors happen. Now it'll run just fine. There we go. See, there's our enemy, pretty big. And there's my Zog going really slow as I wanted him to. Alright, so there, see, and he goes right on top of him. Alright, cool. Now that basically does nothing but just draw a picture in a very complicated way when we could have just simply just drawn another picture. Now, like I said, you can create several of these holding the same variable names. That way you don't have to keep on rewriting everything. And not only that, thanks to the instructions up here, it draws it for us. All we gotta do is really just plot it. Now, see, the reason why you would want to create types is so you don't have to repeat the code over and over and over again, and also creating a bunch of different picture name variables and stuff like that, and saying if this specific picture is here on the left side of the screen, and move him over here, and if he's over there, move him there, and if he goes too far to the right, blah blah blah, and having to repeat the code over and over, and all of a sudden your code's humongous. So basically types are there to save time and make things easier. And also more complicated, more frustrating because they give you a ton of errors, I'll tell you that. A lot of trial and error when you're working with types. So, pick E1 X. Alright, so I'm going to place him somewhere else. So let's see, we'll place him in the same X area, but in a lower area, so Y. Let's see, let's place him like 500 or something. See if that even pops up. Okay, so here I created 2 enemies. See, that's all you gotta do. Just plot them. We got 2 enemies. Cool. That do absolutely nothing but just sit around. So, not very fun. And just in case. Copy. I spelled that wrong. It looks right to me, but whatever. Alright, so we got 2 enemies. Cool. Let's make them move. Now, whatever, like I said, whatever you put inside this whole area right here, this instructions, and it can only be inside here. You can't put E1 outside here. You can't put E1 X equals E1 X plus 1. What will happen is you'll get an error. So if I run it, like I say, object does not exist because all the objects have to be inside the for next loop. Alright, so let's move them. And what's going to happen is when we move the enemy, it's going to move both enemies instead of just one. So E1X equals E1X plus 1. Now check it out. Yeah, there they go. They're off. And they're both going at the same speed. Alright. That's looking really good. So that's type 3 right there. It's just kind of a little preview of it. My battery's running a little low on my laptop, so I promise I'll continue and kind of catch up on where I want to be with this in the next video. But the cool thing is about this is while I'm charging my laptop and posting this, it'll give you viewers some time to ask some questions if you're completely lost. I really wanted to go over so much more in this one video because now my videos can be as long as I want them to be, but it's not always a good idea to put too much information in one video. But anyway, I truly hope you uh, had fun doing this. Now that you understand types, you can make the enemies kind of do different things, go up and down. We'll go through with boundaries and stuff in the next video, and how to kill these enemies and how the enemies can kill you and how they can attack you. We're gonna actually do some interesting stuff, like we're gonna do some AI stuff and have the enemies actually chase you down. So a lot of stuff happening in the next video. Please stay tuned and please be patient because I'm gonna actually probably make it as soon as my battery charges. Alright? Alright guys, have fun.